Hi, my friends, and welcome into today's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you have found us, and I hope you're having a great day. Kathryn Whitaker and I recorded this show at her house in Austin towards the beginning of the year, and we're happy to be sharing it with you today. We have a good conversation about her recent trip to Italy with her family, and we that might be a little teaser for our trip to Rome here this June. We hope you can join us for that. We also test her mettle at our Freestyle Preaching game, which with some surprising results. And then we also talk about some conspiracy theories and the Turing Test in our final segment of the day. And if you don't know what the Turing Test is, you'll learn about it, and hopefully you can apply something to your life. It has a little bit to do about people being angry on the internet, which is something we talked about last week with Allison as well. So this is the sister episode to last week's episode, and with two sisters, with Kathryn and Allison. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, please hit subscribe wherever you are listening, or if you're watching over on YouTube, and enjoy today's show. Welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll. That is Kathryn Whitaker. We are live from the capital of Texas in Kathryn Whitaker's house. We are in Austin, and I'm here at your house.
In the playroom.
In the playroom. Your kids have artwork. I met a lot of your kids today.
Four-sixths.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think I've met them all now, because I met the older ones at like youth ministry stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now you've met everyone.
I think I've met everybody now.
It takes a while.
Yeah. What was funny is like when I got here, like the two younger kids that are here today were like excited that there was like somebody that's not living in this house here.
Yes.
But then the others just like randomly, your daughters didn't care at all. Like
no, they just strolled in.
Like I thought there was like, oh, Kathryn, like I didn't expect there to be any kids here. I don't know why I thought that.
They're not back in school yet.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, okay, they're fine. There's two kids here, and then a third. I was like, then the third one pops up, and then a fourth one, who looks very much like the third one. I was like, wait, I think you look a little different.
We met?
It's very silly.
Yeah,
but
no, I got a bunch of kids.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. This is fun.
I know.
I was thinking about it. I was like, we have done live shows, or it's always live to tape. Like we're just recording it, and then I send it out later, right? But we've done recordings at Focus's conferences. I've done one at not Father Anthony's house, but Nick Sharappa's house, his brother's house. Father Anthony and I and Nick recorded a show together. I've done a recording. I don't think I did one at John's house. Maybe I did. I've done it at Liv's. And I think that's it. Everything else, like, I like being in control, and I got my house, and like I know everything's going to work. And here I'm like, I don't know, maybe people will hear this. I hope our mics and the camera and everything's working.
Hope it all works out.
But we're here at your house. This is my first time ever being at your house. I came here to get you set up.
I'm impressed that you came to Austin and came to see me first trip over, because that's not my MO.
It's not. It's not. You beat me to it. I was going to be like, hey, I came to Austin, and I let you know. And we planned it. And I came to your house. Yeah, so, but I have been to Austin before.
And not called me.
And not told you. And awkwardly enough, sometimes I found you.
Actually, yes.
Hey, I didn't know you were going to be here. So it's funny. I was like, I always mess with you, like, oh, you always come to College Station, and you never tell me that you're coming. You never want to say hi to me, whatever. But I thought about it. Driving up here, I was like, I've definitely been to Austin a few times without telling you. So
You just didn't post it on social media.
That's smart.
Why. Yeah. So now I'm no longer posting. But I can't. But like when we're in College Station, I have to post. So you'll always know. Yeah. I'll wrap myself out.
So I do have, you have a lovely home. Your kids were lovely. You fed me lunch. We had a good time. We got set up. I saw your city. We went to Best Buy. You were I mapped it, and you were like, oh, no. I'm going to tell you how. And you did a great job on the way there.
Terrible on the way
home.
back.
To be fair, like you were telling me some pretty heartfelt stories, but I was also like...
I was like, Taylor knows where he's going, and you're like, this is a different way back.
I was like, I've never seen any of this stuff. So on the way back, it took us a little bit longer. But I have two questions about your lovely home.
Okay.
Well, one is about your van.
I thought you were getting ready to ask about the toilet situation.
No. I'm only going to embarrass you a little bit. Not a lot. I have one question about your van and one question about your house. This was all within the first 20 seconds of me being here. Everything else has been incredibly lovely. You've been incredibly gracious. Your kids were nice. We kicked them out of the house, which is funny because usually I send mine to like the back room and like put a gag order on them. Like they have to
made mine leave.
Well, they're older. They can do that. I'm not going to send my like
5-year-old. Have fun at CVS.
Yeah. Drive your sister. But I have seen your mom van before. Mm-hmm. I think I've even made fun of you before.
Yes.
But you have to explain the 97 stickers on the back of the van.
Oh, okay, yes.
First of all, were those there a year or two ago whenever I first saw your van? Because I would have definitely made fun of you for this then. Secondly, what's going on? There's so many stickers on the back of your van.
So we definitely had stickers when you saw us, just maybe not that many. Okay. So we go to national parks every summer. So if you get a national park sticker, every national park has a 4-letter abbreviation. So like Big Bend in Texas is BIBE, so for Big Bend. Yellowstone is Yell. And so we have all those on the back of our van, all the ones that we visited as a family. So we often get asked, like, are those marathon stickers? I was like, no, those are not marathons.
That's where I was confused. I was like, how many marathons or half marathons have these people done? Because I've never seen any of them move like that.
No, definitely national park stickers.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. That makes sense with your family. Okay, I can get behind that. I do think it's a little excessive. I think maybe
we've only been to a third. We've only been to a third of the national parks.
That's too many. I've been to one, maybe.
We've been to 22, I think, 22 or 23.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
What do you do?
My husband makes me hike, Taylor. Like he makes me like.
Oh, you said hike.
Hike, yeah.
I heard high. It's like, oh, that's how it's fun. That makes sense.
Hike, HIKE, yeah, hike. He makes me hike.
I gotcha.
I don't love it, but I love him. And he loves to hike.
How close to a marathon do you get hiking over the course of the time?
Well, okay, so when we went to Arches, which is in Utah, I thought we were going to hike to Delicate Arch. So that's the arch that's on their license plate. It's like Idaho's known for this. So, not Idaho. Utah is known for this. So I thought, well, we'll just hike up to the Delicate Arch. Well, we got about a third of the way there, and I'm like, this feels like a hard hike. And then you look on the sheet, and it says extreme hiking. Like it was the most difficult hike at the park. I'm like, how did I sign up for this?
Extreme and delicate all at the same time.
It's delicate is a false advertising.
Right. That's how they get you into the state parks. Like, this will be fun and easy. My second question about your house. How old is your youngest child?
8.
You have a sticker on your window for your door that says, knock, please. The baby might be sleeping. And I was doing math in my head. It's like, I don't think she has a baby. Why do you have this sticker on your door?
Because I hate it when people ring the doorbell.
So you lie.
Well, I wasn't lying when the sticker was put on there. You know what? Scott has asked me that before. He's like, do you think we should take the sticker off? I was like, no, just leave it on.
You're like those people. One of the best signs I ever saw on a car, speaking of stickers on a car, was, the ones that say like honk baby on board. Yeah. I saw one that said, it doesn't say honk. It says like drive safe baby on board. I think that's what it said. Yeah. Something like that, right? This one said, drive safe, adults on board. We want to live too. So that's essentially what you're doing with your sticker. So that sticker hasn't been true in like 6-ish years, 5.5 years.
Technically, she is still the baby. She's just no longer napping.
This is kind of the BS I thought you were going to post about this. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, she napped until kindergarten. So for 5 years, that was accurate. It's only been in the last 3 that maybe it's false advertising.
I am glad I'm not the only person that's pointed it out. Like, I'm glad your husband has brought it up. I was really hoping you would be like, yeah, we hadn't thought about that in like 5 years. We don't pay attention to stickers on our door. We're not knocking,
Well, yeah, like I never walk in the front door. I don't need to ring my own doorbell. Yeah.
It was just so funny. Like within the first 20 seconds, I was like, what is going on at this
Well,
place?
Also sometimes I'm napping and I don't want someone ringing.
Baby.
Yeah. The mom is napping. Don't ring the doorbell.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So we accidentally got to talking about you traveling and going to national parks. Yes. You recently went to a different nation and got to experience all of what they have to offer. You went to
Italy.
Oh, I've heard of that place.
Have you been there?
I haven't, but I'm going to.
But you're getting ready to go. Oh, man. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, we have been planning this trip. So in my newsletter, either that I just sent out.
Since your youngest was a baby.
No, before she was even born. I was pregnant with kid number 4, and we had this credit card that, like, you accumulate points and you can cash them in for whatever. And we jokingly said one day, oh, that'd be fun if, like, we took everyone to Italy, because we went in 2000 and 2002 and 2003, like, with our kids that are in our youth group. So we were like the chaperones. It was like the quick and dirty.
Oh, so you had been before.
This was our 7th time, Scott and I. But we've always been with teenagers.
When you said
also.
that this was your dream trip, I just assumed you hadn't been before, and not that it was your 7th time.
But we always went with high school kids. Like, we would always go with our youth group, and it was like we would stay in, like, not brothels, but like a what do they call those?
I love how you just said not brothels. I'm like, that's not. I don't think anybody assumed that's what
a hostel. That's what brothel.
Just want
hostel.
to let you know. Not been to a brothel.
Wow, what kind of podcast is this? No, it's a hostel. So it was basically like, dorm rooms, like, not fancy at all. And not that ours was fancy, but very, like, this was back in 2000, right? Like, during the Jubilee year. And we loved it so much that we said, someday we want to take our kids. So we had this credit card, and we started, collecting points. And every time we, like, get ready to cash them in for, like, a trip somewhere, we'd say, we should save these.
Well, you'd have another kid.
Right. Yeah. We're like, well, we had enough, and now we had another baby. And we also knew that our oldest was graduating college in May, and our youngest was 8, not still a baby, but not so little that she couldn't travel. So we felt like the window was here, like someday had finally arrived. And so we cashed in all the points and got on an airplane, a lot of airplanes, many of which were canceled or delayed, but
awesome.
we somehow made it to Italy.
Over the last few weeks.
Oh my God, it was honestly, I didn't think we were going to make it. But Scott and one of my kids flew through Madrid, and I took everyone else through London, but we all ended up in Rome, and it was pretty spectacular.
It's kind of weird to be like, we'll meet you there.
Yeah, let me tell you, when we split ways in Dallas, I was like, hope we see you in Rome.
It was, I was following along, like, on Instagram, but you would post like 87 stories a day, so I'd watch like a third of them, So I picked up that y'all had split at some. I just assumed the split was like somewhere in like London or something. Like y'all split up here. You're like, we might make it. We
almost split up in Austin, but then they canceled the flight, so they got us all to Dallas, and then our gates were right next to each other, and we board our delayed flight, and Scott's like, hope we see you there.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was real fun. I was laughing. Yeah. I was laughing. Yeah. But no, we made it and got to show the kids so many places that Scott and I that were like life changers for us. And so we spent some time in Assisi, and then we came to Rome. And then
you probably could have shown them where they were conceived.
I won't
7 trips, 6 kids. I mean,
there was one. I won't tell you which one because he'll be mortified.
Oh, hell. Got it.
Narrows it down.
Yeah.
But and then we took like the bullet train or the fast train up to Florence for the day to go see David and just to see the Duomo and just everything in Florence.
Like the statue.
Michelangelo's David.
I was like, who's David? I was like, wait, she's talking about a statue.
Is he a friend or a statue?
Yeah, we're going to go see David. That's not typically
and
something
also,
non-human.
And eat good gelato.
Yeah.
So it was, we slept in Assisi, slept in Rome, and then took trains everywhere else. No brothels, no hostels. We actually stayed in Airbnbs.
Nice.
So it was great because we had a kitchen and we could cook some food if we wanted to.
If you wanted, you're in Italy. Why would you cook your? Well, I ate your lunch today. And it was very, very good. But I mean, I don't know if your cooking equals Italy.
We had to cook on Christmas Eve. So interestingly, Italy shuts down on Christmas Eve because all the families do Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, curiously, so many places were open, which is the exact opposite of the States. But this is maybe one of my favorite things that happened to us when we were in Italy. And of course, we would never have experienced it before because we didn't have all of our kids with us. But we would walk into like a place to go get hot chocolate, or we would go somewhere to get a coffee, or we would sit down to eat lunch. And they would all say, tutti, like all your children? And I would say yes. And instead of what they would do in the States of like roll their eyes or like people would count us, nobody did that there. We got free hot chocolates. People were bringing us limoncello shots. Like and they kept saying like, what a beautiful family. I had so many women come, oh, you're such a strong woman. Like they were so in awe and complimentary of big families that I felt like that we were revered over there as opposed to shamed in the States.
That's cool.
And even my kids said, well, Mom, they actually really like big families over here. And we have 2 good friends who are Roman. They have 3 boys. And they said it's very uncommon, like extremely uncommon to see this many children belonging to the same mom and dad in Italy. And so it was so nice to not be shamed. Like it was lovely.
That's
and
awesome.
I would expect that in Italy anyway, but it was
To be shamed.
to be loved. I mean, it was nice to be loved in a place that loves Catholicism, but I guess I just wasn't expecting it to happen so often. And it happened every day. It was awesome.
That's fun.
It was fun. So that was a cool.
Well, I'm not bringing my kids, and I'm very much looking forward to that trip.
You should be.
I also think my major takeaway from this story is like, I think y'all got gypped on the credit card points. I feel like it shouldn't have taken this long to rack up that many points. I feel like y'all have like the worst point card you could have picked.
Well, I think we just
After 27 years, we had enough points.
credit card companies don't want big families to fly, I guess.
That's true.
It's a lot of points to fly over the sea.
So other than, I mean, what's really funny is like, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear about Italy, and I'm looking forward to my trip to Italy. And all you've told me so far is like, don't go to brothels, and if you want free hot chocolate, bring your kids. And I'm not going to do either of those things. Was there anything else enjoyable about your trip to Italy?
It was, well, I mean, of course, the food is phenomenal, and I ate.
Especially Christmas Eve.
Especially Christmas Eve. Actually, Scott was good. Oh, but we went to a market, like an open, like all the fresh pasta. So we got fresh pasta
Like where
there.
Aladdin stole from. That's what pops in my head.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But fancier. But also not like the butcher was cutting up the rack of lamb as we were looking at it. Like it was like I don't even know how to describe, like a farmer's market on steroids, I guess, because it was all fresh food. So we got fresh buffalo cheese, which was amazing. So it was fun to shop there because it wasn't like going to like Costco or H-E-B in Texas. So it was really fresh and amazing. And they loved that we were from Texas. They kept saying, "Where are you from?" And we wouldn't even say the states. We would just say Texas. Oh, we love Texas. So that was fun. But yes, the food was beautiful. And of course, I mean, we probably visited 25 churches.
There you go. You got your Catholicism. I was wondering how long it's going to
no,
take.
I mean, we did all of that. We did the Scavi tour, which is the excavations of where we believe St. Peter is buried, which is directly below the altar in St. Peter's.
That's cool.
That is maybe, I mean, if you're going to go to Italy, I would think that that's the first thing that you would put on your agenda and start planning for because it takes that long to get tickets. But
I heard it's pretty rare.
Very.
Yeah.
And then we had Christmas Eve Mass with the Pope.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Just like David, down the road.
Pope Francis. And then our 5th kid shook Pope Francis's hand at the audience. So that wasn't nothing.
Was 5th kid?
Luke.
Was he your favorite kid before that? And is he your favorite kid after that?
Well, everyone kept asking him, "Have you washed your hand?"
Oh, yeah. And he's like, no, it has nothing to do with
honestly,
the Pope.
yeah.
I'm just a small boy.
He's just a mess. I mean, the audience that day was smaller. It was the indoor audience. Usually in the wintertime, they bring them inside the Pope Paul VI hall. So we knew to get on where the barricade, where the aisle was, and we just like shoved him to go stand there. You're cute and you're small, like go stand there. And we were competing with a baby across and we're like, oh, he's not going to do it. He's going to kiss the baby, which he did. But Luke had 2 very vocal Colombian soccer players next to him who kept yelling the Pope's name. And so when Pope Francis turned to the left, he beeline straight for Luke.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
That's really cool.
And I was like smiling / crying, and my kids were making fun of me because I was crying, but it was a really beautiful moment. And yeah, it was awesome. All of it was awesome, but maybe just seeing Italy through my kids' eyes. I have a video actually of the first time that the big ones walked into St. Peter's for the first time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I cry every time I see it.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Well, watch it right now.
No. Nope. Not going to do that.
I'm very much looking forward to going. We're going June 17th to 27th or 19th to 29th. I don't know.
You'll be there for the Feast of Corpus Christi.
Sure.
Yes.
So I don't know. ForteCatholic.com/travel. You can find out how you can come to Rome with us. It's just really funny because I talked to Father Anthony about his time in Italy, and it was all about the Catholic stuff. And you're like, gelato.
Listen, I had kids with me, okay? Like, I would love to sit in a church and be like, Jesus is amazing, but I got kids to feed, okay?
So, well, you got to shake the Pope's hand. We're going to see the Pope. You didn't stay in brothels. We're not going to stay in brothels. You went to churches. We're going to go to churches. You ate good food. We're going to eat good food. We're going to stay in like 4 or 5 star hotels, not brothels. So,
well, you're definitely a step ahead.
Yeah. Well,
you're going to love it. You really are.
Yeah. Well, good. I this whole time I thought this was your first time, and you're like,
Nope.
I think that's why it's like not as special to you. You're like, yeah, whatever.
No, it was. There was one moment we were kneeling and praying up the holy steps, and I had all the kids with me, and I just remember thinking how, like, what a really powerful, beautiful moment it was to be praying on these steps where Jesus, we believe, walked up to meet Pontius Pilate, and to do that with my children on these holy steps, surrounded by such beautiful relics. I mean, it was really powerful and profound. So
it's funny because the connection to Father Anthony, because he's going on the trip, he's been to Italy. I talked to him about Italy. He's the only other person that I've talked to about it here on the show. I think I've shared this story. Ironically enough, there's a lot of connections here. One of the last times I did a live recording, not at my house, was with Father Anthony when I went to Pittsburgh last summer, and we went to. There's a replica in downtown Pittsburgh. We were walking around all downtown Pittsburgh, hanging out, and there's a replica of the Holy Steps in this other church. And we walked in, there was like nobody really there. And so he was like, "You want to do it?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, I'm already sweaty. We've been walking around Pittsburgh." And so we both kind of look at like there's some like side steps to go up. We just took the side step. We walked up the side steps.
There are side steps,
because we didn't feel like crawling up.
It's intense. I mean, you get to the top and you have felt every stair, and humbling to think Jesus did. It was a lot harder for him, and then just following that, we go to Santa Croce, which is the church in Jerusalem, which is just down the street from the Holy Steps, where the pillar where he was scourged, that Thomas's bone from his finger, the crown of thorns. Like, there's so many relics, and I'm also thinking, where are all the people? Like, I know they're standing at Trevi, all throwing their coins, but why is there no line here? But it's almost overwhelming. Like, it's like spiritual intoxication. Like, you get so much spirituality that you're like, I'm going to need to come home and be in my real life for all that to sink in, because it's almost too much when you're there. Like, you see it and you know that you're seeing it, you know that you're experiencing it, but it's not until you come home that you're like, did that happen? Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And it's also I think the lessons that God wants to teach you don't necessarily reveal themselves until you have space to really reflect upon it. I think he gives you a lot of grace while you're there, and then slowly unpacks it when you get home. So it's awesome. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, me too.
Also, don't check a bag. That's my That's my best tip. Carry on, team carry on. Telling you.
Even if it's free.
Even if it's free.
That's what the other people. I just
Taylor,
sweat so
if
much.
I can
don't
do
know
it,
how I'm gonna be able to. I need like
you can wash clothes in the sink.
I need like 3 or 4 shirts a day.
You can do it.
I'm actually mad at myself. I didn't bring a backup shirt for this.
I
always sweat when I record.
I can give you the name of the laundromat that we found in Rome.
That's perfect.
Yes, it's right next to Chiesa Nuova, which is where St. Philip Neri's buried.
Obviously. There's
it's just
major
right there.
Connection there. Yeah. So,
but if you can find Chiesa Nuova, you can find the laundromat. And they do it for you. You don't even have to do it.
That's what I'm used to.
Not me.
My wife's not coming on the trip, so I'll be going to St. Philip Neri's laundromat. So if you want to come with us, fortecatholic.com/travel to find out all about it. We're going to have a blast. And I mean, here's your options. Either come with us or, save your credit card points for the next 38 years while you have multiple children.
Go on, Taylors. Go on, Taylors.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
My friend Clarissa Christensen has a book that I would like to share with you. She is a professional Catholic counselor, and she's the best. She wrote a book called Worthy, that is a self-help book for Christians who are tired of the mediocre swipe right and swipe left style of dating, who want to change their dating standard and create a bold, fearless life full of passion and purpose. It doesn't matter if you're a high school girl, which I know a lot of high school girls listen to this show, someone's grandma, or anywhere in between. Worthy is designed for you. In a vulnerable vulnerable yet witty how-to guide, Clarissa takes you down her own path that led to a rock bottom of bad dates, low self-worth, and an unfulfilled life overrun by depression and anxiety. In these 13 easy-to-read chapters, you will learn how to identify and overcome the insecurities that are holding you back, establish a dating standard you love, grow a supportive friend tribe, dive deeper into your relationship with God, live unapologetically. By the end, you'll learn who you are, what you want out of your life, and how to get it. So if you are a person that is dating, this book is perfect for you. Or if you know somebody, maybe it's your cousin, your niece, your nephew, your aunt, somebody who is in that dating part of the life, share this book with them. Head to our website, igniteyourworth.com, to purchase your copy today, or you can even request a signed copy. That's igniteyourworth.com. Link in the description. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I'm Taylor Schroll. That's Kathryn Whitaker. We are live in her house as we speak, and we're going to play a game.
Good.
That two co-hosts on this show have really liked. I really like it because I'm really good at it. I usually like doing things that I'm good at.
Okay.
Your other two ladies on the show though, it was rough at the beginning, but then they got better over time. They hated it, I think, because we all like doing stuff that we're good at, and it took them a little bit to kind of get the flow of it or whatever, right? But
this feels like it's going to be painful.
I think it'll be great, and I think you'll actually be pretty good at it, and I think you'll be better at it than you think you will. The person you replaced, John, I think was the best co-host at this game.
So I don't need to be so good that you kick me off. Is that what you're
saying?
saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's actually why he left. He was getting a little too good at this game, and I was like, there's only room for one of us. Father Anthony, ironically enough, not very good at this game. He preaches every day. He doesn't quite get the feel of it. Allison hated it at first because she hates looking dumb, and she likes preparing her talks for like 87 hours and having them all written out. So she hated this game, but she's gotten better at it. And I actually think this game has made her a better preacher, period. But that's just me.
You don't want to, I mean, if someone's going to take credit for Allison getting better, it's going to be you.
100%. I mean, obviously. Liv's just so, she's either great at it or terrible, and there's no in between. So we're going to see where you're on this. And I think you'll actually be pretty good at it because of, one, not only your history of speaking, but also your history in youth ministry. I think this is a youth ministry skill. Okay. The game that we're going to be playing is called Freestyle Preaching. Listeners know what this is. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take turns giving each other 3 words that we then have to incorporate immediately into a real 60-second sermon, but we have to include the 3 words that the other host gave.
Okay.
So, for instance, for you, I might be like, hey, you have to include the word chair, picture, and camera. And you say, Taylor, you're just picking things out of the room, saying you love them. Yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. But I'll try to give you some softballs and give you some words that you're familiar with.
And you can preach about anything.
About anything. That's the thing is it's completely open.
About the gospel or just anything.
Literally anything that you either have ever or could ever give a talk about at something. And the reason I bring up youth ministry is I think that most youth ministers do this in almost every talk that they give.
Right.
Because youth ministers notoriously don't prepare much, So they just get up and they're like, hey, I heard y'all talking about Fortnite earlier, and I heard you talking about dating problems, and I heard you talking about being confused about Mary. So guess what our talk's about today? Those 3 things. They just got to extemporaneously talk about that. The thing is that they try to do it for 20 minutes, and it goes on a little bit too long. If it's not prepared, it's not as good as it could be.
So you're condensing it.
But we're condensing it to 60 seconds. I actually think we can give some pretty good sermons. And I think because you have kids, you've worked with youth ministry stuff before, and you're a brilliant speaker, I think you'll actually be better at this.
Thanks for really pumping me up, Taylor. I appreciate that.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So I'm going to start since you've never played before.
Okay.
So what I need from you is I need 3 words. I'm going to write them down so that I don't forget.
Okay.
But I need 3 random words from you. It can be anything.
Okay. Be real.
Be real.
Curtains.
Popcorn. Okay, here we go. When I got to Kathryn's house earlier, we were talking about social media and how it can kind of get in the way of real life. And we talked about Be Real, which is this new social media app, if you haven't heard about it. And I just hate it. I think it's really, really stupid. There's no instructions like when you first get on, but you have to post something to see other things. I think it is it is called Be Real. And let's be real for a second. How many times have you done a Be Real, said it wasn't good enough, and then done another one? You're not being real. You're being just as fake as you are on all other social media, right? But like, so what we need to do with our personal lives, we just need to like pull away the curtains. Like we need to open up a little bit, like, and actually be real. Like we're trying to use all these social medias to like show our real life. None of it's real. We just need to open it up, and really be able to see people's real lives. Like whenever we watch like we come over to somebody's house, right? I can just sit here and just eat popcorn and watch you and your kids interact, and it's so much fun for me because I get to see how another family interacts, and like I got to see something that was real today with you interacting with your family. But you know, these social media things. So like the final takeaway is that we just need to actually be real in our actual lives and not show up this false front on social media for other people. Amen.
Okay, you just got. I think you're just shaming me now. Now I'm like, okay, should have chosen harder words. Now I'm like,
it was
okay.
funny. That was I see.
That was really good, Taylor.
So I think that for me, even as I was going through, I was like, that sounded more like a segment on the show, like me talking about social media or whatever. It didn't really sound like sermon-y. Like, what was my Jesus point? You know, like I didn't really make it. So I think
I'll give you that.
Better. I think it could have been better. I'm going to give you some softballs. I think I even told you a couple of these, right? Like, what does everybody know you for? Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
Texas.
Okay.
And I'll give you barbecue. We'll put you right in your wheelhouse. So those are your three. On your mark, get set, go.
You know, maybe my favorite thing that we did as a family, this has been several years ago, is we went on a barbecue pilgrimage. And so like on this pilgrimage, we had a chance to eat really good food, which highly recommend. But we also had the chance to do some really beautiful things for Jesus. So you're sitting there for your meal and you're eating your barbecue and you're drinking your Dr. Pepper, but then you get a chance to go pray Stations of the Cross at the Basilica down in San Juan del Valle, or you get the chance to go to confession, which was helpful on a family trip.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes we look at things that are ordinary in our lives. You know, this big 2,000-mile trip around Texas, we had this big opportunity to do this ordinary thing, but we decided to make it something that was intentional. So I think when you look at your life, you have the opportunity to do something and really be intentional about it, no matter how ordinary you think it may be. Jesus can find a way into that. So I don't think it's uncommon to say that you don't always have to be in a church to find Jesus. You can actually be eating a little bit of barbecue too. Mm-hmm. All right, that was really helpful. Those are three really good.
Is that real? Y'all really did a barbecue pilgrimage?
Yes.
That's a real thing?
It's in my book.
Cancel everything. I'm doing this from now on.
It's in my book. We went to the top 50 barbecue joints in the state of Texas. It took us 10 months, and we went to all 50.
So
I thought you knew this about me.
No, so I get... So when you said barbecue pilgrimage, I almost laughed because it sounds ridiculous. So I can even get the, like, go into all the barbecue places. But the fact that you said pilgrimage and you actually did like church stuff is incredible to me.
Yeah, we did. We did the painted churches. We went down to South Texas.
What you don't realize that you did, and like even the listeners, like I've maybe mentioned this like 2 or 3 times. My entire like growing up, my second home, like the church where I felt home, was San Juan del Valle.
Oh.
And you mentioned that in your first ever I told you were going to be good at this. You're like talking at my heartstrings. You're talking about food and my home church from growing up.
That's one of our favorite places.
We would go on, my parish had gone on a mission trip there for every year for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. So I went as a teen. I met some of like friends that I have talked about with you that are currently working at my parish. Father Will Rooney, I met him as a seminarian down there. I met Kevin Kapczynski down there. James Longoria. Like all these friends that we have in common, James I met at home, but the rest of them I met at this mission trip. That's incredible.
Yeah.
You unknowingly talked about something that like means so much to me. So I was like, this is incredible. You're talking about food, pilgrimages.
We got up at 4 a.m. because Vera's is in like as far South Texas as you can get, to get there by 5 a.m. to get their barbacoa tacos and then bring them back. And it was a time change weekend. So then we had to eat the barbacoa tacos, time change, spring forward, and still observe the hour before 8 a.m. mass.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I've never thought about the time change that early. That's funny.
Yeah. So that's what we did during Lent one year.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
That sounds like a terrible Lent. Oh, we had to go eat barbecue 50 times. Oh, boy.
Well, it was one Friday when we had 4 barbecue joints left. So we had this... So we did the pilgrimage, but then Yeti gave you prizes for achieving certain if you went to certain places, like certain challenges, so they had a top 10 brisket challenge, you had to go to these 10 places, and then you got the big open cooler, which is what we really wanted. Well, we had 4 places left, and it was a Friday during Lent. So we drove to Houston, went to all 4 places, and ate like all the sides, the baked potatoes, all the stuff, and put it in our Yeti coolers, brought it back, ate it for breakfast on Saturday morning.
Nice. That's hilarious.
I mean, you do what you have to do. Yeah. And we got the cooler, so it all worked out.
You're a better Catholic than me. Let's just say
it was really hard.
Differently.
But then as they're loading up the baked potato, we're like, oh, don't put bacon on there. I mean, it was terrible. It was hard.
If it's real bacon, it's fine. Bacon bits are not bacon. You can totally eat bacon bits.
It was real bacon.
It
was real bacon. Yeah.
Man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I loved it. I think the only nitpick I have, which is incredible that I only have one. I think because you were speaking extemporaneously, you used a buzzword.
What was that?
Intentional. You said it like 3 times, and it's like the buzzword in preaching now.
I'm so sorry.
So that was the only part
anymore.
that I was like, it could have been better. But everything else is incredible.
Stop saying that word.
You're very, very good at this.
Okay, thank you.
I would like for you to give me 3 new words, please.
Ooh. Marvel.
Curtains and popcorn were difficult.
Socks.
Socks.
And swing. Now I'm trying to be mean. I'm like,
all right. So when I arrived at your house today, there was one other little thing that I nitpicked, and it was at the bottom of your stairs. It says what?
Shoe parking.
It says shoe parking. So I was very confused about why you would park your shoes at the bottom of the stairs, because to me it seems like a dangerous thing to put your shoes at the bottom of the stairs, because I feel like it would just be an incredible marvel for me to walk down the stairs and not step on a shoe and just go immediately into the wall right in front of me. But I was like, I'm in your house. I want to follow the rules. So I left my shoes down on the side. So I'm wearing my socks. They're right in front of you, which is 100% why you just brought that up. But let's swing to a different topic, right? Because what that really made me think of was like sometimes like you have to do the right thing, because the right thing that you want is for kids not to be on their shoes upstairs. But sometimes the right thing can actually put people in peril. So I think it's actually good for us to reevaluate things in our lives, like, baby signs on the front of our houses, or like, putting your shoes at the bottom of the floor, and like re-looking at these rules and be like, okay, what do we really want out of this? How do we actually accomplish it? Because I think a lot of times we can put rules on ourselves within Catholicism of like, oh, I need to do this thing, and if you don't do it, you feel guilty, and now you're feeling guilty about feeling guilty, and we just get into this spiral. So I think the lesson for me and the lesson for you is just like, let's just reevaluate the things that have just been sitting around in our houses, in our lives, in our hearts for so very long, and just look at them again and be like, okay, what did we actually accomplish, and is this helping me do that?
Did you say swing?
I did.
When?
Let's swing over to a different topic. It was a real cheap way to use it. I'm not gonna. I thought
that was hard. I'm sorry.
I was swing. I chuckled at the way that I used it. But I was real happy when you said Marvel, because I knew you meant the comic books, but I really wanted to use it in a non-comic book way. So I think it would be a marvel for me to not slam into your wall.
When you said that, I was like, wow, good job, Taylor.
So I think it wasn't too much of a sermon. I think I'm like off my game today, and I think I'm shocked at how well you're doing, and it's throwing me off. You're currently winning. I've
only done one.
I've done 2, and you've done 1.
No, but you've done one. Okay, are we doing one more?
Yeah, let's do. Yeah, we've got time for maybe one more. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do St. Philip Neri.
Okay.
It's not one word, but you know what I mean.
I do. Yeah.
St. Philip Neri, gelato, and fan.
Fan. Okay.
F-A-N.
Okay.
All right. On your mark, get set, go.
So I don't think I ever told you. So I know that I mentioned that I went to Italy in 2000, which was our very first time to ever go to Italy. And I was a brand new Catholic. So everything was brand new to me. So we took 15 teenagers over to Italy. But our priest that was with us, his favorite saint in all the whole world is St. Philip Neri, because he was kind of a jokester. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he's like patron saint of jokers, but definitely a practical joke kind of guy, which I related to, because I was like, I like a guy who can, make kids see the fun side of their faith. And so it was like one night we'd had dinner, and then of course everyone had a hankering for gelato. But then we go by Chiesa Nuova, where the laundromat is that I told you about earlier, and it had been, I mean, it was a pretty intense trip because we were there in June, and like they don't have air conditioning or fans over there. You just have to like lean your head against like a brick wall and like hope that it cools you off. But what I really that's all you get to do. So the pro tips for whenever you go. But what I really loved about St. Philip Neri in particular is that the kids had been seeing a lot of like St. Clair and St. Francis of Assisi St. Clair of Assisi and St. Francis. And so like all these people that the usual suspects, but for them to hear about St. Philip Neri, it's one of my favorite places in Rome because every time we go there, I think of all those high school kids that we had who we still keep in touch with today. But that trip really was the catalyst for my faith changing it, but it was absolutely a catalyst for theirs too. So I'm excited for your people, whoever they may be, to go to Italy because you never know what church or what place it is going to be that's going to change their life.
We can go have some hijinks while we're getting our laundry done. You're so good at this. See,
those were easy words, though.
You thought you weren't going to be good at it, and you're tremendous. You crushed me today. I was off my game, and you were like, you're way better at this than you thought.
Thank you.
So we were going to do one more. I'm just going to call it.
You're going to call it.
You've already gotten 2 points. There's no way I can come back.
That's nice.
Philip Neri, he's one of my favorites. So do you know the story of him shaving off half his beard?
Oh, and I don't think I know that story.
Yeah, so he shaved off half of his beard just to like be funny and weird, right? So when I was in college, I worked at this Christian camp, and it was Christian camp with like some like American values too. So it was like one of the guys that was in it was like ex-military. So like the whole time, like the whole summer, we had to be like completely clean shaven. Like
that must have been hard for you.
I hadn't been clean. I hadn't been clean shaven in forever. So like, what we did was we had all the male counselors had like a beard growing contest.
It's like No Shave November.
Yeah, but for like we did it from like around like November, December until so we could have our beards and stuff, and like some guys had long hair or whatever. Like we had to like be in dress code, like their dress code. But the first week was training. Maybe the first 2 weeks were training, and then the kids started coming.
Yeah.
And so like the kids started coming on like I think it was a Sunday. So like Saturday afternoon was the day that we had to like shave our beards off, and like by the time we went to church in the morning, we had to look like the all-American, like that sort of thing. Right. So, but what we did was, so I think we started Sunday. So the last day we had to shave Saturday. So what we did was we had the beard contest, and I got second place. I'm still
bitter about that.
Yeah, because one guy beat me, but we ended it a night early so that we could do like weird, wacky beard stuff on
before you had to shave it off.
So Friday afternoon, evening, we all shaved our beards, and like one guy had like handlebar mustache that could like loop like 3 or 4 times. He's the guy that won.
Yeah.
Other people would like shave like like have like a weird goatee or like put like lightning bolts or whatever.
Right.
So like we were like very, very silly for like the last day. And what I did was so I had like a full beard, and I completely shaved half of it.
Nice.
So half of my face was completely shaved. And it's one of my favorite memories. I was every morning we all had like our different chores around I think it switched every week. So like that morning I was me and 2 other people were like the helpers for breakfast. So there's like 2 professional cooks, chefs there, and then the 3 of us that were helping. I walk in, the right side of my face still has the beard. So I'm on the right side, and I'm cooking eggs, and this other girl, my age, is doing like the sausage and bacon or whatever.
Right.
We have entire conversation for like 10 minutes. She doesn't notice anything weird because all she sees is the right side of my face, and the right side of my face still has a beard. And then like I'm starting to like chuckle like halfway through it, and she's like, "What?" And I look over to her real fast, and she immediately sees that like the other half of it. She's like, "Ah!" Well, that makes me feel good to be yelled at, scared about my face. So. I love that connection to Philip Neri and like using comedy and humor. I almost said horror.
No.
Horror.
I got you started with the brothals, so sorry.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
We're going to clip that. Kathryn Whitaker.
Please don't make
started with the brothels.
Oh my God.
Kathryn has quit.
I'm never going to be invited back.
Yeah. It's to your house. We're at your house. I'm never going to be invited back.
That's true.
Anyway, you won the game. I'm so very proud of you. You did very, very good.
All right. Pass
You're
the
gonna
test.
want to play this every time.
No, I'm not. Nope.
You defeated me. All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Whenever we come back, we're going to be talking about cautionary tales, which might be the theme of this whole show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. My friends, if you have not checked out our YouTube channel, you are missing out. YouTube.com/Forte Catholic is where you can get full-length episodes of the show that you are listening to right now. But not only that, we've got a bunch of other things going on, like our Catholic Foundation series, which is a teaching series that I've been leading for my parish. It's like the 10 things that Catholics need to know the most. 30-minute talks by me, another one of my friends that has a master's degree. We have things like mission, Mary, the Mother of God, virtues in Christian living, temptation, salvation history, the church. We just think that you will love this series, whether you have been Catholic your whole life and want a refreshing course, or if Catholicism is new to you and you want to check these out. We also have our A Catholic Perspective series, which is finding the true, good, and beautiful in pop culture. So we have recent videos like the surprising Christmas movie hit Spirited. Even if you haven't, Christmas is over, but you can still watch the movie and enjoy it. I watched Willow, Star Wars Andor, Rogue One, even that terrible movie Morbius. We've got all kinds of things going on our YouTube channel. Also, Allison Sullivan's podcast, Sinner, Saint, Sister, the home for that in video form, is now on our YouTube channel as well. So check it out for when we've got music, we've got talks, all kinds of stuff going on at youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Go subscribe today and check out some of our videos. Welcome back.
You got it.
Welcome back
To Catherine's house.
Where am I? Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I'm Taylor. That is Kathryn. People know that I'm a big, avid listener of podcasts. I don't just... Podcasts are essentially my life. I make them, I produce them, I edit them.
You load up you just inject the thing, and you're hook up to them.
Yeah. So, but one of the ones that I listen to, so I've told people before, I don't think I've ever talked about this one, but I've talked about two other podcasts in this podcast network. So it's Malcolm Gladwell's podcast network. People,
I like him.
People know who he is.
Yep.
Even if I don't agree with him on everything that he says, he makes me think more than any other human being makes me think. Christian.
Talking to Strangers that was a big book for me.
He's incredible. David Goliath, I've read a bunch of his books. I've listened to every episode of his podcast. Maybe I'm a couple episodes behind, but I listen to everything that he does. Just a tremendous thought leader. So there's another show that I've talked about a lot on the show. It's called The Happiness Lab with Dr. Laurie Santos. I've shared about that quite a bit because it lines up with a lot of what we're doing here, like trying to share joy of the gospel. And essentially her thing is she uses the science of the mind to say this is how you can be happier. And just the amount of times that it lines up with what the church has been saying for 2,000 years is pretty incredible. Well, there's a third one that I've never really talked about before. It's called Cautionary Tales by Tim Harford. His claim to fame was he wrote Moneyball.
Oh, okay.
The movie.
Moneyball.
Right?
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
So he wrote that. So he has this podcast, but essentially his whole thing is it's called Cautionary Tales, and essentially from a young age, his big thing was he learned that if I can learn from other people's mistakes, then I don't have to make them.
Smart.
And he's had a pretty successful life, right? So his podcast is looking at usually every season there's a theme, but every episode is a major failure. And what can we learn from that? And it's fascinating. I love it.
Is it his failures or other people's failures?
It's all other people's failures.
Because he doesn't have any failures?
Yeah. But it's usually stuff from it has a history focus. Let's look at what happened with Hiroshima, or this thing that happened in World War II, or this thing that happened. It's kind of learning from other people's major mistakes. A lot of us struggle to learn from our own mistakes, but if we can learn from other people's, then hopefully it can help us to avoid them ourselves. I saw that a lot. This was kind of, a lot of my coaches said this in sports. It's if you watch other people play and you see the mistakes they're making, it's easier for you to be oh, I'm not going to
I'm not going to do that.
So it's interesting that I think it's pretty well ingrained in me, but it's just not something I think about a lot. But I very much connect with this podcast because I think it was ingrained in me pretty young. It's I make enough of my own mistakes, but I also see other people's. I'm I'm not going to do that. So
No, we saw some of that overseas. I was oh, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, the brothels.
Don't check your bags. Okay, that's cautionary tale.
So there were two episodes recently that really kind of really got me thinking, and I ended up talking to my wife about both of them. And there's some podcasts that I'll listen to that she really likes, and some that I listed, she like couldn't
She's
care
like,
less about.
whatever,
This
Taylor.
is some of them. But I talked to her about these two, and one of them was about robots, and which seems like a weird thing, but it went from like robots that were like what you maybe think of robots, like the Terminator or whatever. But
Or I was thinking of the Jetsons.
yeah, the Jetsons, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Both from your generation.
Ding,
But,
yeah. Oh, thanks. Wow. Just got called out. Anyway.
I thought I was trying to connect with you by saying something.
Anyway.
But it came to like a term that people are pretty familiar with now. It's like bots, like on social media, or Russian bots or whatever.
Right.
But there's a thing with robots called the Turing Test. T-O-U, like it's like Turing.
Turing.
The Turing Test, right? Have you ever heard of this? You know what this is?
No.
So essentially the Turing Test is if a robot can pass the Turing Test, it's the test of do they have conscience? Can they think? Can they essentially like
how human?
Have they passed the line to where they can essentially be considered human at this point? So this has been a theory for years and years and years. And it was always with like essentially with like robots, and even as like there are things that computers can do that I cannot do, but another human being told that computer how to do it, right? Like
Fair.
So it's like there's nothing that computers can do that humans can't do. Like maybe not every.
Maybe they can do it faster. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Turing test was essentially like, when they pass that, like
it's over. It's over for us.
Like, they're gonna start learning. They're gonna start having consciousness, and like it leads into all these crazy.
It's that's like on the Marvel movie, when he becomes
Ultron.
Ultron. There we go.
Because he takes over and he's like, I'm better and I know better
right.
than y'all.
Yeah,
I'm gonna show you.
Sorry, that had to have the Marvel.
No, it was very good. It's very good. I didn't make the Marvel connection last segment, so you had to make it here. I totally get it. But essentially, so it's always been like in the robots thing, like, is an Ultron or a Terminator or somebody like that going to take over? Like, that's when it gets scary. But the fascinating thing was there are robots as in bots. So like chat bots, like the chat bots have been, like the one that got popular a few weeks ago about like, hey, ask this AI.
Yeah. Right. Your students are writing their papers. Yes.
With the
crazy.
AI, right?
Yeah. It's
insane. Like really, really smart. But essentially, even the smart ones, they always get like, it was impressive, and we were all impressed, like as a human community, with how good this AI was. But then after a few days, it started to like break down. And you're like, oh, that one's definitely fake. Like you can start to see it. So it's like, like robots can they walk? Yes. Oh, very good. Oh, can they throw a dart? Like I've seen, there's one that can like shoot basketballs from half court and make them every time.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, can they do that? And then you're like, hey, you want to decide what's for dinner? It's like, no, they can't make decisions. It always falls apart at some point. But the only bots that have passed the Turing test, and like this is in like the scientific community recently, is some of these chat bots. So like,
wonderful.
There were
where
bots,
we spend all our time.
Right. Yeah. Some of them that were created for good purposes, and some that were created for nefarious purposes. So like, oh, everybody thinks like the Russian bots, and they're trying to watch us and get all our information. And maybe they are, right?
I'm sure they're listening.
Yeah. They're like, he's not where he's supposed to be. But the ones that have passed but there are some positive ones too. Like there was one that I heard about it was for elderly people that were lonely, and there's a chat bot that's like their companion and their friend, and it's like obviously it's not like as good as the real thing, but it's better than nothing.
I think there's a movie about that.
Really?
Yeah, he like falls in love with the computer, or she does. Okay, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Probably.
I'll think about it later.
But they can be used for good things, right? But essentially, the only ones that have passed the Turing test, the way that they've done it, these chatbots, and they've convinced people, is all they do is like be hateful. So there are people that these bots that have been used on Twitter, social media sites, or like other apps or whatever for like getting together with people or whatever, and like dating sites or something like that. The only ones that have ever passed it. So like they did one on a dating site. And at first, it was like going really well. It'd be like, "Hey, what do you like to do for fun?" It would be like, it's just chatting, but it's the robot, and I'm like, "Oh, I like to long walks on the beach." Like they know they're picking up information for other things, but then it's like, it's always at some point they keep asking the same question over and over again, or they forget that they're like, "What do you like to do?" It's like, "Oh, I'm 41 and I like long walks on the beach," and then they'd be like, "Oh, how old are you?" It's like, I just told
I
you
just
that.
told
Like,
you.
it starts to fall apart where you are like humans on the other end, even if it's just chat, they're like, this isn't real.
Right.
The only ones that have passed are ones who are just egging people on, angry, bitter, trying to start fights.
Well, because they're not listening, right?
Right. Exactly.
They're just spewing hate.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just found it fascinating and so sad that like the Turing test, the only way that they pass is by spewing all
Being
this
jerks.
crap. And now I'm like, how many humans can pass the Turing test at this point? Because if you look at social media, if you look at the internet, if you look at politics, if you look at church stuff, if you look at church politics between Catholics and other religions, but even within Catholics, it's all just spewing hate. And it's like,
no, my kids were looking at when they announced on social media that Pope Benedict Emeritus had passed away. My kids were looking at the comments, and my daughter even looked at me and she said, "Mom, did you see all these horrible things that people are saying?" I'm like, and someone's passing, their first default is to say something hateful or awful.
Right.
Horrible.
It's bad.
I said, do not read the comment. Like, I'm to the point now, like, depending upon what the news is or what the website or the social media account is, like, do not read the comments because it will suck you into the vortex of awful.
Right.
Ugh, so frustrating.
It just saddened me so much that like, here we are trying to make these bots act human, and so many humans are acting just like these bots that were created to spew hatred. And I'm just like, guys, we got to be better than this.
We got to be better than the robot. Come
yeah,
on.
exactly. The second one was about 9/11. There's like these 9/11 truthers, and essentially it's this community that believes 9/11 didn't happen. They have all that, their science to back it up. And they're like, oh, it was a government job, or it was, somebody planted bombs and it was our government, it was this government, or whatever. Like, the theories are endless, right? But there's this whole community. What they have in common is 9/11 didn't happen like people said it did. Like they told us.
Which seems incomprehensible, but
right.
Okay.
But this podcast was set up, was sharing a story about all these people who have YouTube channels, websites, blogs, social media following, and they brought the leaders of this community, like these 9/11 truthers, and they brought them up to the 9/11 site, and they had them not only being there and being near it, but also like they met with experts on everything. They met with experts on aviation. They met with experts on like people who were like working at the Pentagon at the time. They met with families of the deceased, of like wives, mothers, children, husbands of people who died at 9/11. And almost everybody, all these people that they brought, every single person except for one did not change their mind. So even after encountering all this, and like they would even go through all the theories, like there's some theories about like, jet fuel can't burn the walls or whatever.
It blows my mind. I mean, it's hard to comprehend. Like, how can you? I know we're going to get to something else in a minute, but how is it that you can see that and it not be real? That's like people who believe that Sandy Hook didn't happen or that Uvalde didn't happen. Like, those things really happen. Like, what does it take? What does it take?
Right.
Even when presented with the truth. I mean, isn't that an analogy for our faith? We can present you with the truth, and it is plain as day, and you will still be like, nope.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand.
And they get into some theories on like why that is, but I think one of the places that I can connect with them, with this group of people, it's not many, but there's one that I can, where it's like with anything like this, it's like, okay, how many people do I know that were affected by 9/11? How many people do I know that were affected by Sandy Hook? The number's very low. Like my aunt works right across the street from the White House, or did, and she just retired, but she worked right across the street from the White House on 9/11. Immediately, that's where all my thoughts went. I was in fifth grade, sixth grade, sixth grade.
You're making
like
me
that.
feel old.
Yeah.
I was holding my 3-month-old.
Yeah, there you go.
It's okay. 6-month-old.
That's what the sticker at the front of your door makes sense. But like immediately, like I had somebody that was.
You knew somebody,
around, affected,
reliable,
worried for, and they were like, it was crazy. Like Sandy Hook, I have no connection to people. Like Uvalde, like I don't know anybody there, but like because it was in Texas, I do have some more people. Like I know people who were affected by it. Like we do our men's retreats pretty close to Uvalde, and like there was like a grown man almost in tears, like kind of gruff guy almost in tears talking about it. It's like, so I've had some experiences like that, but like if you don't know people who were affected by it, you can start to be like, okay,
Did that really happen?
did that really happen?
Is
right?
Ukraine really real? Yeah.
Right. I don't know any Ukrainians, right? And like even when COVID was going on, a lot of people had all their conspiracies about COVID. It's like I didn't know any people that had it. It's like I knew people that got sick, but I was like, is it any? It's like I can at least get that part where it's like I don't know anybody connected to this because I think you and I talked the last time you were on about when it comes to sharing faith. It's like I can present truth to you, but if I don't have any relationship with you,
This doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter at all. You're not really gonna hear me with open eyes. But if we have a relationship, you're gonna be like, oh, my friend thinks this, so maybe I'll be open.
So, and I trust them, so
Right.
maybe I'll believe. Yeah.
So this whole, but even with all that being said, it was still fascinating that of all these people, I forget how many people, it was a large group of people, and only one changed their mind. And I did find that, I mean, it's still baffling. So like, it's one of those things where it's like all these people, and they were meeting people who were like in tears because their husbands, kids, wives, whatever, died. But the main story was about this one guy who changed his mind. He was just like, I can't. He's like, I'm hugging these wives who lost their husbands. I'm hugging these kids who lost their dad. And he's just like, he changed his mind. Like,
well, he for sure lost like all of his friends for that. I'm
100%.
Sure. Yeah, he had to.
And that was a part of it that kind of spoke to the first part. Because whenever he changed his mind, he heard from all the experts and really, so he learned some things intellectually.
Became human.
Right. Learned things intellectually, but then had these emotional experiences as well and some human experiences. And he changed his mind. And he was a big YouTuber. He went on, like, this was his livelihood. He was making money on YouTube. And he went on YouTube and he's like, guys, I've changed my mind. The truther community completely disowned him and he lost all of his community and was lost. He had to find, I forget what it was, but he had to find I think it was like a board game community or something. Like he had to build new community because he lost all of his friends. He lost everything. And, which is sad, but he was still happy.
Well, yeah,
because it was true.
He was no longer delusional. Yeah.
But it gave me for the first time a new explanation for why people stay in that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right? Because it gave me a new, not that it makes me agree with them, but it makes me understand them a little bit better. Like anybody who's entrenched in any position, whether it's the 9/11 truthers or the Catholic thought or the Baptist thought or the Muslim thought or whatever your worldview is, it's like they know that if they change, they're going to lose the community. And it's specifically with conspiracy theory, with especially with this 9/11 one, the guy was saying that we all found each other and we were all my words, not his, but it's pretty much what he was saying. Is they're all kind of oddballs. And they all found this thing together, and this one thing brought them all together. And so they came because of their conspiracy. They stayed because of the community.
Right.
So it was one, they didn't want to lose the community, but then two, I was thinking about it from a church perspective. It's people might come because the truth, because they think this is right, or because their parents made them, or because it's a cultural thing, but they're going to stay because of the community.
Right.
And I was it was so impactful because we've had conversations before that if we start losing our community, it's hard to continue in.
Well, which is why we tell people when you join a church, you should not join because of the pastor. You should join because of the community. Mm-hmm. Because the pastor will change, the ministries will change, but the community largely stays the same, who sustains you. But I think it's also an opportunity for us to say, how discerning are you with your community, right? Just because you belong to a community does not mean that it is a healthy community. It does not mean that it is feeding you in the way that Jesus needs you to be fed. So I think I heard a quote, this maybe in the last week or so, when you're changing, that means that you're living. So being a living human being and breathing means that nothing stays the same because you continue to change because you're continuing to live. So I think when we refuse to allow ourselves to be open to change or to change our mind on big or small issues, that we're refusing to live. We're trying to be super insular and only this. And if you don't allow yourself to see, it doesn't necessarily mean that you change the core of who you are. But I think that speaks to the bigger issue of how are you discerning the best community to lead you towards Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. And
God bless that guy for giving it all up because
crazy.
It must have been really difficult.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And so there was just both angles of the community. I think I learned something of people will come to Catholicism because they believe it's true. There's a lot of people that are I believe in the Eucharist. Mm-hmm. And then the community starts falling apart and they're I don't know if I believe in the Eucharist. I've seen that happen in myself and enough other people where the community aspect is such a strong thing. But then also the thing that I learned from the negative, we talked about cautionary tales, right? Like looking at the negative side is like when that person left that community, he got shunned. And how often do we do that as Catholics?
Oh,
I've seen parents do it. I've seen communities do it of like, oh, you're going down to the Baptist church. You're not part of my family anymore. I'm not talking to you anymore. Or like, I'm not going to talk to you. And it's like, it's only going to further make people not want to be part of that community again. Like,
it's going to end badly.
Man, so it was just, there were just so many angles to this story. It was fascinating as I was listening to it that this guy changed his mind. But then like looking at both of those communities and how both communities did it wrongly.
Right.
Was just fascinating.
Well, and how are we reacting as a community when someone steps up and says something that maybe we're like, ooh, that kind of challenged me? Mm-hmm. Do we immediately try to tear them down? Mm-hmm. Or are we like, maybe we should listen to that?
The Russian bots. Full circle.
Yes, full circle. That's like that should have been our words. Bots.
Yeah.
Cautionary tales. Okay, I'll remember this for next
time. When you want to beat me at my own game again, we'll use those words. Yeah. All right, well, this was fun. Thanks for letting me in your house. I'm glad we got everything figured out, and
all the technology.
This was fun. So who knows where Kathryn and I will record together next time, but we'll be back in a month. I'll be back next week. See ya! Thank you guys for watching and listening today. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Learn more about our trip to Rome, our trip to Italy at fortecatholic.com/travel. We hope that you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you very soon. Love you.